means when God blesses you, whether it's 1 child, 2 children, 3 children, 10 children, love them equally. Pray for God's grace. I know they may come out of your womb, but some of them need special grace for them to love them. I know. They are yours. Love them. Embrace them. And we shall see that even as we move along in this. Are you still in church? So now, but then the other thing about these two brothers is, and you'll notice that, especially going back again, I think is it in chapter 25, that the two of them, apart from the fact that physically they're different, personality-wise they're different, but they are also different in their disposition. All right? Because so one day, Esau comes home. Remember, he's a guy of the country. He loves being out there in the open country. So one day he comes home, he's famished, he's hungry, and he says, I'm so hungry to the point of death. So he comes and tells his brother, by the way, Esau means hairy. His brother, the name Jacob means supplanter or conman, basically. All right? He comes and tells his brother, listen, I am so hungry, please give me something to eat. His brother takes advantage and he tells him, listen, I can give you something to eat. However, I want you to give me your birthright. All right? And we'll talk about the birthright in just a short while. And Esau, he says, what is a birthright to me? He says, you can have it. In fact, but Jacob makes him to swear, to promise, and says, you know what, I have given it over to you. I don't care, just give me. He just wanted a bowl of lentils. Can you imagine a bowl of dengu? And he gave away, in fact, and then the Bible says that he despised his birthright. Now, Hebrews chapter 12 comes, I think verse 16, comes and tells us something, and just a little word there about Esau. And the Bible says that Esau, in fact, the Bible calls him and says that he was a godless man. And because of that godlessness, he despised even his birthright. Now, you see from a very, very early stage right there, that these two, apart from the fact that they're two different people in terms of their personality, but also in terms of their heart, they're two different people. Are you with me? Now, Jacob is no better than Esau in terms of character. Now, notice that, because this guy is quite something, and you know his story. He's a conniver, all right? He's a con man. And you see that throughout. However, there is something very interesting here. Now, we're not even told so much about Esau's shortcomings, apart from the fact that he sold his birthright and a few other things. And of course, later we know that he married Canaanite women that were so grievous to his parents and what have you. Apart from that, we are actually told more of the shortcomings of Jacob than Esau. Yet, in God's economy, when God looks at both of these characters, when you and I look at them, we will actually think Esau was a bit better. But, see, God does not look at the outward. Man looks at the outward. God looks at the heart. So sometimes, when we look at people, it's easy for us to judge them based on their character, based on what we see on the outside. Yet, God looks at the heart of man. Are you with me? So you find that Jacob has, although he has weaknesses, he has a heart for God. Are you with me? Esau looks like he's a bit more astute, he's a bit more organized, yet his heart is far away from God. Can I help you understand this a little bit much more? See, remember King Saul and David. King Saul, by the way, it's amazing. We are actually not told too many shortcomings of King Saul. In fact, we're introduced to him as a guy who looked like a king. He was a head above shoulders, above his peers, and he looks like a very organized guy. Yet God rejects him. Yet God also now refers to David, who was his contemporary, who was going to take over the kingdom. He refers to David, I have found me a man after mine own heart. Are you with me? Now, when you look at David, surely this man cannot be a man after my own heart. Are you in fact, because we get to see who he really is. The guy is a murderer. He's an adulterer. He's a real mess of a guy. Now, Saul never committed adultery. Are you with me? Because at the end of the day, it's not so much what people do on the outside. It is the condition, the state of their heart. Some people look good on the outside, but the state and the condition of their heart, they have a heart of rebellion against God. Can I give you another example in our own times? You remember Adolf Hitler in Germany. Why was Adolf Hitler, why was he even elected into that office? How did he find himself in that office? Adolf Hitler, before he became Chancellor of Germany, he was a guy who never touched alcohol. He was a decorated war hero. Everybody believed that he was going to be the best leader for Germany. Are you hearing me? All right? Yet one of his contemporaries was a guy called Sir Winston Churchill. Sir Winston Churchill was a known drunkard. In fact, in some accounts, they say the man could hardly wake up before 10 in the morning every day. He was known for his whiskey, his alcohol, and of course, smoking a pipe. If you are given the two of them, you would have put your bet on Adolf Hitler. Yet at the end of it all, when both of them tasted power, they came into power. Sir Winston Churchill ended up being the statesman. Adolf Hitler became the villain. In other words, sometimes we are quick to judge people by what we see. But sometimes God, that's why I love the Lord, because he doesn't look at what we see. He doesn't look at the outward. He considers the heart of the people. So for Jacob and Esau, they may look of their twins, but Esau is a godless man. Jacob may have his issues, but thanks be to God, he's a man who has a heart for God. Because soon after, you see him now beginning to build little, as he ran away from home, he begins to build altars to the Lord. Are you with me? He still has issues, but at least he's building altars. You know, thanks be to God, we still have issues, but at least we're in church. I still have issues, but I can come and celebrate the Lord's table. Please don't judge me because of one act or two acts. Please don't write me off yet. Thanks be to God, he doesn't write anybody off. My goodness. The fact that we look good, the fact that sometimes we seem to act right, doesn't necessarily mean that we are right with God. It's a matter of the heart, friends. See, God doesn't call us to ministry, even to preach his word, because we are perfect. Oh, you should know how many times we disqualify ourselves from preaching this gospel, friends. Because when I look at my own issues, I say, Lord, surely. I mean, couldn't you find somebody? In fact, sometimes we even volunteer names. I say, so-and-so looks better, so-and-so looks better. I mean, that guy looks more like a pastor. When God called me to the ministry, I struggled. Because even up to now, I know I don't look like a pastor. I know I don't look like a pastor. But you see, God didn't call me to look like a pastor. Story for another day. So Jacob and Esau. So now, these two brothers, so some drama here is working out. So now Isaac is at the point of his death, calls Esau, his favorite, tells him, please, prepare me for me that food that I like, and go out and hunt and get something. Rebecca, of course, because her favorite is Jacob, she tells Jacob, listen, I've heard your father say this, please, this is what you're going to do. She tells him, please, go and get me 2 young goats. Now, let me help somebody here. Let me help the whole church, actually. Now, when you read that story, remember, Isaac is on his deathbed, or at least he thinks he's on his deathbed, which, by the way, unfortunately for him, he thought he was about to die. He's 137 years old, but guess what? He lived another 43 years, because he died at 180. All right? Now, how old do you think Jacob and Esau were at this time? When you read casual reading, you will think they were maybe 16, 17, 20, 25 there, isn't it? Do you know how old they were? 77. Both of them were 77 years old. I didn't say 17, 70, just write in your notebook, 77. And pray for revelation. Both are 77, all right? But this is interesting. As we carry along, you will see. So now notice, at 77, Jacob is still taking orders from his mother. Oh, brother. See, mothers need to know when to let go, surely. Really, like, yeah, 77. By that time, you should have let go like about 50 years previously. Now notice, so he says, Jacob there, when he's given these instructions, Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, but my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I'm a man with smooth skin. But what if my father touches me? I would appear. Notice what he says at 77. He says, I would appear to be tricking him. Now, please, you will not appear to be tricking him. For real, you will be tricking him.